Hi everybody, my name is Hannah and this is Pepper and Pine, and today I have a chalk drawing to share with you. This is for the letter P for our Islamic Waldorf inspired main lesson block on the letters. So the first thing I'm going to do is erase our previous chalk drawing. I am using chalkboards from waldorfsupplies.com. They're 22 inches by 32 inches. I'm also using my Sargent Art chalk pastels, but first I'm just outlining my basic drawing with some white chalk. I end up having kind of a struggle with this chalk drawing just to make a house, actually, and I erased my first attempt because it was just several attempts trying to make a simple house, and then this is like the final result, and you can still see that I struggled a couple of times just to make a house, which shouldn't be that difficult, but it was this time around. I also thought I would make a fence kind of behind the house that would separate basically the foreground with part of the background, which was going to be this huge pasture with animals and maybe a little stream running through it. And so, as I do with a lot of my chalk drawings, I start on one part of the chalk drawing and then I move to another part, and then I just kind of go back and forth between these different areas within a chalk drawing, never really finishing one thing entirely at one time. And so now I've come back to the foreground to work on the palm trees, and I want to make sure that they really look like the letter P, because these chalk drawings are part of a series in which each of the letters is represented within the drawing whose name also begins with that letter. So these are palm trees starting with the letter P, but they're also shaped in the letter P. And so at some point I try to kind of exaggerate the right side of the leaves so that they can really be circular like the top part of the letter P, but it didn't look that great. And then once I presented this to my daughter, she also was like, didn't think that it looked too much like a P, but there I am trying to kind of really accentuate that P, which actually doesn't look so bad now, but I end up going over it with some green later on. Alright, so I'm just going to work a little bit on the background at this point, and this is going to be that huge field before the rolling hills in the back. In this series of chalk drawings for this main lesson block, I've done a lot of like outdoor scenes, and adding some hills or mountains in the background seems to be a really great way to get some color and depth into the chalk drawing. And then you can do a brilliant sky, either a night sky with some purples or a daytime sky. My favorite is a setting sun sky so that you can get some really beautiful oranges and reds in the sky. So I've also added a little stream in the background there, and then I kind of decided I wasn't going to do a fence because that wasn't going to fit very well with all the palm trees in the foreground, but I do want to add like some sheep or goats or even cows. And they turned out kind of hard to do, but once you just get a bunch of them in there, you can't really tell all the little details that were kind of wrong, because once you step back a little bit, it definitely looks like animals in a pasture just grazing on grass and drinking water out of that stream. So I really do like the way it turned out. I think that had I had a little bit more time, I would have added more animals. But now we're going to work on the house, and I thought that I had picked up more of a brown for the roof, but it was a bit more of an orange-red color, which is fine. I'm going over it with some other colors and trying just kind of to darken it up a little bit to make it look more like a roof. I really like these Sargent Art chalk pastels because the colors are really vibrant, and I've really enjoyed having that vibrancy with the chalk drawings, because for me, since art is a struggle at times, having really good quality materials helps, and it kind of makes the finished project look a little bit better than you expected. One other tip is to stand back once you're done. Sometimes when we're too close to the project, we see all the imperfections, but as soon as you hang it up on the wall and step back, then you see that it looks a lot better than what you expected. So I'm going to add a couple details to the house, and I do use my black chalk in order to outline details, and I really like that look. And then I'm going to come back in and kind of do some yellow windows so it looks like there's a light on the inside. So this is for the story of Prophet Ayub alayhi salam, and he was blessed with a beautiful home and huge orchards and lots of animals and wonderful children and lots of wealth, and it was just all a very beautiful life for him. And some of his followers and some of his critics were like, well, you must not really be religious if you have all this wealth. but he always remembered Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and prayed and was very thankful. But over time, he was tested with many tragedies, and he had lost his orchard, and there were some bandits and thieves that had stolen his animals and killed his servants, and then he was very ill, and he had a horrible disease, and so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had taken all these things away from him, and yet his faith still remained very strong. At the latter part of his life, he was re-blessed with all of these wonderful things, and so he had orchards and palm trees, and so that is the story that is going to accompany this chalk drawing. Okay, so this is what it looks like when it's all complete. I really do like the way this one turned out. I like all the vibrant colors, and I like how it just draws you in. You feel like you want to be there in that home and on that piece of land. So if you would like to see some of the other lessons in this Waldorf-inspired Islamic main lesson block on the letters, you can tap on the screen right now. If you want more information about this curriculum that I have created, you can find that on my website at pepperandpine.com. And if you want to see how our homeschool is progressing on a daily basis, you can find me on Instagram at pepperandpine.